Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm so excited to do a really fun tag. I was recently honored to be tagged in the Booktube Snack Tag, and I've always wanted to be tagged in one of these videos, and I was actually tagged by a really great booktuber. I will put her down in the description below for her channel, so you guys can click on it and check her out. She has really good videos, she has really great recommendations, and her name is Tara's Bookshelf. Thank you so much for tagging me. I'm so excited to do this today. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So the first prompt is Sweet, the chocolate chip cookies of books. Pick a book that is warm-hearted, uplifting, and makes you think less cynical about the world. So the book I decided to choose was The Dead Romantics, and I know that sounds really strange for something that's really sweet, but the way that the author portrayed this book I found to be really endearing, and I kind of go more into detail about that in my other video. It's really fluid when it goes over to grief and second chances, romance, and even just looking at the world through a different colored lens. I found it to be so poetic and really sweet. So this book really made me feel that I wasn't lonely. When you start to read it, you'll kind of understand a little bit because the character, she is going through some stuff. And when you realize what she's going through and the way that the atmosphere is portrayed and the area and who she encounters, it just makes you realize you're not actually alone. And it was just such a really sweet read. So I definitely recommend this for chocolate chip. Next prompt is Salty, inherently craveable. Pick a book series that you couldn't stop reading or reaching for. So the book I chose is The Killing Woods by Lucy Christopher. And the reason I chose this actually is because I read one of her other books a long time ago, and it turned out to be one of my most favorites. I do want to read that book again just because I did read it when I was really young, and it was something that I found so interesting, but it's called Stolen, if you haven't heard of it. I believe it was really popular at the time. A lot of people really talked about this book. So I reached over to one of her other books because I really liked her writing style, and it was really easy to get into. And this is more of a thriller based. So when it comes to thrillers, I feel like I can't not stop reaching for them, especially if they're written so well. The way Lucy Christopher wrote this was really easy, and it's really easy to dive into. So it wasn't super complex. It kept me on my toes. It kept me wanting to see what was going on. And sometimes I'd get a little bit confused about, was this a paranormal or it's just somebody just really messed up? But the way that the author wrote this book, I just felt like she wrote it really well, and kept the creepy, eerie parts really high up there on the priority list. So I feel like this was a really good book that just constantly kept me wanting to keep reading each chapter. I would start to question so many different things, and because of that, I feel like that's why I kept wanting to reach towards this book over and over again. So I definitely would recommend this book if you're looking for like an easy, kind of light thriller. And because of that, I found this book to be really easy to get into. So definitely recommend this for Salty. The next prompt is Cheesy. So like Cheeto Dust, you just can't escape the cheese. Pick up a book that you love because of or in spite of its cheesiness. So this one was kind of hard because there's so many cheesy romantic books out there, but I definitely chose one that I recently read in December, and I read Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogle, and you guys have probably heard of her from her other books. I forgot the other books that she's written, but she's really popular and a lot of people do talk about her. But I read this because I wanted just a lighthearted, fun Christmas read, and I just recently read this in December of 2022. And okay, this book is just, if anything was put into cheese, it's definitely this book, but cheese covered in snow. So it's a really cheesy Christmas book, but I feel like it was just really ridiculous, but in such a cheesy, funny, corny way. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this for cheesy. There's just so much parts where it's just like, okay, that is definitely just too ridiculous, but I say that word so weird, ridiculous. There's so many parts of it where it's just so ridiculous, but it's just so cheesy and funny. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this for cheesy because it was just so ridiculous and corny, and some of it was just so outrageous where it's, you just know that it's not real, but it was such a corny, cheesy thing. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this for cheesy and corny. There's definitely romance in this, but the romance part wasn't just the main foundation of this book, so I really liked that, and I really liked how the character build-up turns out to be in this book. I would definitely recommend this for cheesy Cheeto Dust. Okay, so the next prompt is Deep Fried. So you bit in too soon to hot batter and got burned. Pick a book that hurt to read. So this book, I unfortunately don't have a physical copy. I for sure want to get a physical copy just to put on my bookshelf. But the book I wanted to choose for this was definitely Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I kind of go back into this again in the other video I posted, but this book, oh man, it it just hurt, but it felt so, like, I don't know, I was just so happy and contempt. I don't know, I was just, this book for sure would definitely be something that kind of hurt to read. It was just, it pulled on those emotional strings and definitely tugged at something that if you were to put yourself in the character's shoes, you can definitely see how much it would hurt to be in their position. But then also there's just so much like anger and emotion that goes behind the development of the characters, as well as just their story and their plot that they're going through. So I would definitely recommend this to be something that burns and hurts to read, but you just can't not stop reading it. So the next prompt is ice cold. Sometimes the snack you want can only come from deep within the freezer. Pick a book that transports you to a cold place. Again, I just talked about this book recently. I feel like I have to talk about the books I just recently read because I just found so many great reads within 2022. But this one is Frost by and this book, I unfortunately don't have the physical copy, but I will for sure get this on my bookshelf because I am so obsessed with this and I'm so excited for the next book to come out. I believe it's coming on the 20th, so I'm just waiting for that. And anyways, this book definitely takes you and transports you to a cold place. The whole ambiance takes place within the Fae world, but that world takes place, I don't know how many times I could say take place, but that environment pretty much is set within just a snowy, that place and environment definitely takes place in a cold atmosphere. And the way that the author just describes the weather and how cold and brittle and weak your fingers and how you feel and what you're wearing, she really portrayed that really well. So I felt like I definitely felt cold reading that book. And yeah, I feel like she was really descriptive when it came to just the ambiance of where the setting was taking place at. So I definitely would recommend that for something that transports you to a cold place. Okay, so the next prompt is sour. Some things are just too sour to keep a straight face. Pick a book that made you make faces while reading. Oh man, okay, so this book I definitely talked about again in my last video, so I don't want to go too in-depth in it, but it's Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And this book, I was just constantly telling my significant other just all these like different parts. I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is gonna happen. This is so crazy. And I had to keep telling him all these parts. And I definitely would say that that book just made me have the most craziest face, where it was just like, oh my gosh, like the gossip, the drama, the oh no, like she didn't. I would definitely recommend Rock, Paper, Scissors for something that just kept me making all these crazy faces. I really enjoyed that book. It was really fun. And again, I don't have that on my physical bookshelf. I've read all these recent past 3 books on my Kindle Unlimited, so unfortunately I just have it on my Kindle, but I will for sure want to get a copy of that onto my bookshelf because I love those last 3 books. The next prompt is healthy snack. You picked this up because it was good for you. Pick a book that you read to improve yourself in some way. Okay, so the book I chose it's an oldie but a goodie, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been around for quite a while. It's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. It's written by Richard Carlson, PhD. I felt like this was something that really helped with my anxiety. I feel like so many people have anxiety, and it's totally normal to have anxiety. Just learning how to control it and how to learn to not let it define you was something that just hard to grasp. But this book really portrays a lot of quick reading when it comes to just understanding yourself a little bit better and the situation that you might be placed in and your perspective on it. And yeah, I feel like it was really good. Each one they're numbered according to category, and it'll kind of have like the title of what it is, and then it'll have like 1 or 2 pages of just the explanation and the perspective. I just felt like depending on what situation you're in, you were bound to find something in here that would pertain to that, and you could use it when it comes to just trying to be, and you could definitely utilize it when it comes to just reminding yourself of what you're capable of and what you can get through. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. The last prompt is juicy, like an orange or watermelon. Some snacks have plenty of pieces to share. Pick a book that is profoundly shareable, a book you want others to read. Oh man, okay. So the books I definitely chose, of course being a Harry Potter fanatic, I had to choose Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban because of course I am obsessed with Harry Potter. I want everybody in their lifetime to at least read the books if you haven't read them. Especially if you are a Harry Potter fan, I feel like the books I feel like the books and movie are really great. I don't feel like it's one of those things where the movies was better or the books was better. I feel like they're both amazing, but when it comes to the books, I just loved it if you wanted a little bit more of the Harry Potter world. And for sure, I feel like this was one of my favorites. I loved all of them, but if I had to choose, like on my gravestone and choose which one I wanted, I would for sure choose Prisoner of Azkaban. I would choose the Prisoner of Azkaban, or I would definitely choose the Order of the Phoenix, just because I love the description of how they explained the Ministry of Magic. But for sure, it'd be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. But that's just my go-to for everything. And this one is, I'm sure you've heard of it, but this is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. This book, I just feel like it pertains to so much beautiful aspects within the world. It just goes through so much, and you know, it really made me reflect on just the time we have within the world, some of the sacrifices we make, the choices we make, positions where we just have no other choice, and how to survive. And I just really like the perspectives of different character build-ups. So it pertains to almost anybody. The concept of trying to understand your place within the world and pretty much your existentialism, pretty much understanding your existence within the world. And I just felt like it was so fun and whimsical, but also so melancholy. It was just a really, really good book. I just feel like it hit so many different notes, and I would definitely recommend this book if you haven't read it. Plus, I feel like they're really easy because each chapter is really quick, and I'm a person who I like to end on each chapter, so it just constantly kept me in a different world on each chapter. Each one was a different setting in a different world place because it is like a time jump. So I would definitely recommend it because it's a really easy book to get into. Yeah, and it definitely is lengthy, but I found it to be so great that it was lengthy because I was more immersed into the world, and it gave me time to understand more of everybody's perspectives and all their different situations to kind of get more emotion pulled out of me. So I definitely like this book, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't read it. Okay, so the very last prompt is snack pack. Tag 2 people. Okay, so the 2 channels I wanted to tag were Jency Reads and Lynn Reads 143. I found their channels to be so fun. They are new booktubers as well, and they're just so supportive, comforting. I love the aesthetic of their channels and how calm and friendly they are. They're just so kind and so sweet. So I would definitely recommend watching their channels, and I will definitely put their channels down below in the description. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, take care.
We've been up for way too long, but I don't